Hello and welcome to Berlin. It's the final countdown here in the German capital and a double-header season finale at the iconic Tempelhof Airport. There are just 2 races left in the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, and then we will crown our first ever world champion. It's going right down to the wire. Mathematically, 18 drivers have the chance to be crowned our Season 7 champion. That's right, 18 drivers. It's going to be absolutely awesome. It's the most dramatic season we've ever had in Formula E, and as race fans know, Berlin always delivers. Last time out in London, it was probably the most exciting doubleheader we've ever seen.
Formula E's return to London saw an all-British front row with BMW's Jake Dennis alongside Alex Lynn on pole for Mahindra Racing.
All 5 lights are on, and we go green in London.
A pile-up on the opening lap soon ended championship leader Sam Bird's race.
Got hit off the back, then got hit from the side. What a waste of time.
As Lynn lunged for his second attack mode, Jake Dennis chose not to go for the extra power boost and inherited the lead of the London E-Prix.
Good job, guys, good job.
Behind Lynn, an advancing Nick de Vries made his way into the podium positions with 2 identical moves at turn 10.
And Nick de Vries is into second place.
Really good movement. Let's keep going forward.
But ahead of the Dutchman, it was a masterclass from BMW I Andretti's Jake Dennis.
And in dominant fashion, Jake Dennis wins in London.
Putting the rookie right in the championship fight.
That is how you win a Formula E race, boys. Come on!
Round 13 and Mercedes EQ Stoffel Van Dorn was in pole position ahead of Oliver Rowland in an action-packed race.
Race over, Bohemi. Man, honestly.
Having fought his way up 10 places, DS to Cheetah's Antonio Felix da Costa had his race ended prematurely by Andre Lotterer.
Lotterer just pushed me into the wall. So dangerous. It's always this guy.
Lucas, safety car, green coat, box.
Under the safety car, Audi Sport Ab Schäffler risked it all for the race lead.
What's De Grassi doing?
Safety car is driving 20 kph here. Lucas is in the box. De Grassi's come out at the lead. What is going on?
But De Grassi's reward was a drive-through penalty for not coming to a complete stop in the pit lane. And that wasn't the end of the drama.
Oh, no! Rowland smashes into the side of Stoffel Van Dorn.
How much bad luck can you have, man?
That incident saw Van Dorn's teammate De Vries inherit second, ahead of Alex Lynn. But it wasn't to last long.
And Lynn goes for it. Lynn goes through into second position.
Well done, Alex. Now we open the gap.
Lynn's second position soon turned into first, as de facto leader Lucas De Grassi was black flagged for failing to serve his earlier penalty.
Alex Lynn, in his home race, takes his first Formula E victory.
Awesome job, amateur crew. Well done.
That win put Lynn in contention for the driver's title, but 2 second-place finishes for Nick de Vries were enough to put the Dutchman into the lead with the championship on a knife edge. Envision Virgin Racing retook the top spot in the team's championship, with Mercedes EQ bumped up to second, with everything still to play for in Berlin.
I'm joined by multiple IndyCar champion Dario Franchitti and the head of the Audi Sport team, Alan McNish. Guys, London was spectacular. It put a lot of drivers in contention for this weekend's championship finale. It was superb. Let's talk about a couple of drivers first, just quickly off the bat. Alex Lynn, outstanding performance. Jake Dennis as well, I think you'll agree. But Nick de Vries is at top of the championship table.
Yeah, absolutely right. You know, the third place, the pole position, and then winning the race for Alex Lynn in London, that really brought him straight into championship contention, which just shows how tight the championship is. Jake Dennis, another Brit, home race win. That was phenomenal for him. Nick de Vries with 2 second places, as you say, Vern. He's at the top of the standings with a 6-point gap to second. That could be absolutely key in this championship fight over the next 2 days.
Alan, 18 drivers are in contention, as I mentioned at the top of the show. How do you play your cards as a team principal with your drivers?
This is the problem, is because I was just about to say Nick de Vries went into London not having scored really any points at all since Valencia, which seems so long ago. And there's drivers that have a very, very good double weekend and they go from here to here. And it could easily do exactly the same thing when we come to this double race in Berlin. And so it is very difficult to try to sort of plan it. All we can do is really look at today, Saturday, and have a strong Saturday, and that puts us in the fight for Sunday. And that's where the big points are going to be played. That's where the trophies are going to come from.
Or you could think about some special tactics, Alan. Let's go back to London. Let's talk about the Lucas de Grassi incident where he came into the pit lane under safety car. Some might say it was controversial, but it was within the rules, as you explained on race day back in London. Just explain to us what your decision was and why did you do it?
Well, fundamentally, the rules allow the car to come into the pit lane, stop and to continue out. The area here under safety car is that the safety car was so slow leading up to the pit lane entry. And this is a shorter pit lane entry by distance, and also at the 50 kilometres per hour with the safety car doing less than 50. When he came in, he actually gained a significant amount of positions, much more than we ever expected, and ultimately came out in the lead. It is within the rules completely. It was done here last year under full course yellow by Nissan and Mahindra, which actually gave us the idea, and they closed that loophole off, but they didn't necessarily close it for safety car. Unfortunately for Lucas, he didn't stop the car, which is the key part of the regulation, obviously, that meant it wasn't possible to
I would have loved to have heard that conversation between you and Lucas after it all happened. Dario, an interesting tactic.
Absolutely right. Alan, is there an ethical question here, or is it up to every team to exploit every loophole in the rules?
Like anything, you've got a rule book and you look through it and you go the fastest way from A to B. I think clearly, you know, in that situation, now the FIA have realised that that was an area that maybe should be closed off, and they're going to put a red light at the end of the pit lane here. I spoke to them afterwards and I support that completely. But at the time, it was like any regulation. It was there in black and white. And I know that 4 or 5 other teams looked at it to think about doing exactly the same thing.
All right, quickly, yes or no, going to do it this weekend?
Not go down the pit lane, I have to say. But,
well, the results of London mean that Nick de Vries is at the top of the championship table. He's with Nicky.
2 wins this season, 2 second-place finishes last time out in London, and now at the top of the driver standings. Nick de Vries, how does it feel coming into Berlin at the top at the moment?
Feels good. At the same time, I'm very well aware that it doesn't mean much at the moment, and obviously there are theoretically 18 drivers that are still in contention for the championship. So yeah, really we're all in the same boat, and it could go, you know, in many ways. The championship has been very unpredictable and very much up and down for everyone the whole season. So yeah, we just approach this weekend like every other, and we will do the best we can to obviously have a clean weekend, score good points, and then hopefully the lottery lands on us on Sunday evening.
It is a bit of a lottery, so I think the big question really here is Group 1. Can you qualify towards the top when you're in Group 1? We saw Antonio Felix Costa do it here in the past. It's how he took it, you know, and claimed his championship fight. Can you do the same?
You're right, but obviously that is kind of the key of every event and every race to qualify well from Group 1, because then you're in contention to score good points. So that kind of approach and that racing is not different here to any other. If we can do it, you know, I don't really worry or think about it too much, because at the end of the day it's out of our control, but we are in control of doing a good job and putting a clean lap together, and then hopefully that's good.
Brilliant. Well, all the best for this weekend. Thank you very much, Nick de Vries.
We've been here many times at Tempelhof Airport in Berlin. Let's take a close look at the track, the key part to this weekend's championship decider with Dario Franchitti.
Welcome to Formula E Berlin. Let's take a lap of this 2.35 kilometre 10-turn circuit. Here we are at turn 1. Look how wide it is. A long curved braking zone, a really critical area of the track straight away. Easy to lose or gain a lot of time here. When the cars are on the limit, you watch them, the back is sliding, the front is sliding as the drivers fight for control all the way into the corner while carrying maximum speed. That doesn't take into account lap 1 though, when they'll be side by side all the way through all 270 degrees of this corner, fighting for position. If you're side by side in turn 2, you'll need to be single file by the time you get to the middle of 3. Turns 4 and 5 come quickly. You've got to get a good exit out of 4 through the fast kink in 5, as there's a long straight before the next corner. Turn 6. Just look how wide the entry is. We see a lot of overtaking at this corner. But the most interesting part is the attack mode activation zones on the outside. If you sit down where the driver sits, how do you actually see it? It's almost impossible. There are no reference points for the drivers, and they've got to cross those 3 sensors in the track with pinpoint accuracy to arm attack mode. This is a point where a lot of time and positions can be gained or lost. Absolutely critical to your race. Turn 7 and 8, you're just trying to flow as much speed through here as possible. But if you or someone around you has taken attack mode, you'll be running side by side, possibly on the marbles. This corner then becomes very tricky. Turn 9, tight hairpin, which in Formula E terms means chaos. We've seen some great overtaking here before, some heavy defending, some contact at the apex and at the exit. Now the drivers are dealing with a very difficult surface here. Look how abrasive it is. My research tells me it was laid sometime in the late 1940s. Didn't have car racing in mind when they did this. So the drivers are dealing with this, which really hurts the tyre, but also the difference in height between these concrete blocks. This makes the Berlin circuit different than our normal Formula E street circuits. Turn 10. We've seen some really cheeky passes here in the past, so you can't shorten up the braking too much. If you get to the apex unscathed, you've got some bumps to deal with, you start going back to the throttle. The right rear tyre is crying enough the whole time. And you're putting more and more throttle on as this corner continues to curve round. It makes it very easy for the car to snap at oversteer, which is exactly what you do not want entering the longest straight of the lap with the finish line halfway down. And that's a lap of our penultimate track of the season.
Dario, it's a great track for our championship decider. We've got 18 drivers in contention. We keep harking on about that. Multiple teams. How do you attack this very, very essential, important first qualifying session this weekend?
This lap could be your championship right here, Vernon. Especially the guys in Group 1 today. We've seen how difficult it is for them to qualify up front. They've got to try and minimise the damage in Group 1, try and qualify, you know, if they can get close to the top 10, but also if they can gap the people they're competing with. That is one of the key things. Guys, Group 3's been the sweet group this year. That's where everybody's been sort of getting the super pole, getting on pole position. So look for your pole position to come out of, I would say, Group 3 today.
So if you're in the first group, basically what you're saying is you just need points. Just get some points this first race Saturday.
Try and get some points. It's going to be an energy race and a tyre race this afternoon as well, which will play to the guys maybe in Group 1 who might qualify further back. They've got more time and there's more tactics involved to get to the front later this afternoon.
In free practice, Jake Dennis was outstanding this morning.
Quickest in both sessions. A rookie this year, hasn't been here to Berlin before. He's going to be tough to handle this afternoon.
Yeah, he really is. Let's not forget Nick de Vries is at the top of the championship. But let's go over to our race commentator, Sir Jack Nicholls. There you go.
So we're looking forward to this qualifying session then ahead of the penultimate race in the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, the BMW Berlin E-Prix presented by CBMM Niobium. The cars getting ready, and before too long they will be out on circuit to qualify for what could be a decisive qualifying session. And well, actually, it literally will be a decisive qualifying session, won't it? It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Out in qualifying Group 1, we will have the top 6 in the championship. De Vries, Freitz, Bird, Dennis, Da Costa and Lynn. And there is Nick de Vries. Now in Superpole in the last race, in Group 1 in the last race, he managed to get to Superpole. And that's what led to that second place in London. That's what put him at the top of the championship standings by 6 points. But you just saw there, it was Jake Dennis that was quickest in free practice 2 and free practice 1 yesterday evening. And it's all going to be about getting as far ahead of your title rivals as possible. But Group 2 and Group 3 are so close. Now, speaking to some of the teams earlier, they say, you know what, Group 3, realistically, you're a little bit too far back in the championship. A little bit too far away from Nick de Vries at the top. But so much of the title fight will be defined today by what Nick de Vries can do. Alex Lynn in the Mahindra, getting ready to head out onto the circuit. 6th in the championship, squeezing into Group 1 by 2 points ahead of Nick Cassidy. And he took pole position in London, was fastest in group qualifying. And there is Jake Dennis, quickest in free practice 1, quickest in free practice 2. And Group 1 is where he's got to do it though now. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what Dennis can do. Sam Bird getting ready to go as well. Okay, someone is heading out then, and it is de Vries and Freitz. So Freitz was heading out and then I guess De Vries has gone out at the same time. Oh, there's already a car out there, which is Da Costa. So Da Costa has gone out at the head of the queue with 3 minutes to go, Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if everybody does a preparation lap. A lot of talk this morning, Jack, in free practice 2, that the tyres were not in for the first sector for some of the drivers. I think Sam Bird was mentioning that man there, as if by magic. And yeah, so the drivers will be very keen to get the tyres into the operating window before they start that lap. But then the other key is not to overheat them by the end of the lap, coming through that long turn 10 corner when they're accelerating, turning at the same time.
Bird, remember, has a 3-place grid drop after his collision with Norman Natto at the end of the race in London. So that will be affecting him after the session is completed.
I'd forgotten about that. Oof, that's another hard knock to take, even being in Group 1. You know, and that's going to make things very, very difficult. See Alex Lynn waiting a bit longer. But we saw Jake Dennis there. He's been very, very strong this weekend.
So they're all quite spread out, aren't they? So Da Costa, De Vries and Freitzel went out together. Then there was a bit of a time until Jake Dennis went out. And then, Sam Bird went out there. And then quite a bit of time before Lynn goes out. So some are doing prep laps. Some are going in that kind of... Bird almost looks like he maybe isn't going to... Well, he probably is going to do a prep lap, but he's all by himself.
Yeah, the space is good. What we've got to watch here, though, is Alex Lynn's out. When they all meet together after these guys have done their prep lap, Alex Lynn has got clear air. These guys need to get clear air. They need to start spacing out a little bit.
Jake Dennis has gone full power straight away then. So this is an interesting move from Jake Dennis. Full power, this is his lap. Down towards turn 1, we're on board with the British driver who has moved up to 4th in the standings after his win in London.
Watch how smooth Jake Dennis is on the controls, particularly the steering. You can really see he's got a lovely smooth style, and it's paid absolute dividends in Formula E. See him just kicking the back out just a bit as he enters now turn 4. It's so important to get 4 well, because look how long this straight is. Up to turn 6, there's a bump right in the middle of the braking zone of 6, Jack, that upsets the car just where you don't want it.
Sam Bird has turned it up to full power as well in the Jaguar, so he is going full power straight away. Dennis through the first sector does a 23.0, so we'll see when everybody else starts their laps how good that is as he comes through turns 7 and 8.
We've seen it, the sun's beating down on the track now. You see traffic ahead of Jake Dennis, but the sun's beating down the circuits. Getting warmer, the surface is getting warmer, and it is losing grip, so slightly different feeling probably from free practice this morning. And these guys are creating a traffic jam, and they better get out of the way.
And here comes Dennis into the final corner, and I think he'll have just about got away with that as he comes out over the line. De Vries is just going to start his lap time in time. Dennis does then a 1 minute 6.592 for Dennis. Now we focus on everybody else. Bird is slower than Dennis in sector 1 by 1/10 of a second. Here he is.
But was that qualifying interference? That's the big question, and whether the BMW guys will complain about the Mercedes driver.
Yeah. Bird is over a 10th down in sector 2. Lynn is a 10th down on Dennis in sector 1 as well. So still looking like a good first sector, because Da Costa's 3 thousandths away. De Vries and Freitz both slower than Dennis as well in the first sector. Here comes Sam Bird out of the final corner. Lynn's 3/10 away after the middle sector. Not a good lap from the Mahindra driver. And Bird goes up into second, a 10th away. But Lynn is struggling here.
Yeah, on board with Alex Lynn. He's coming up to turn 10, the last corner. Bit of oversteer quite early on the throttle and a snap right at the end, but I think he kept the throttle down. Where's it going to put him, though?
Da Costa's up after the middle sector. Lynn goes slower than Sam Bird. Here come Freitz and De Vries. Freitz has messed it up into the final corner. He's gone in far too deep, far too hot, and Da Costa could go to the top here, and he does by 1/10 of a second. Now here comes Robin Freitz. He only goes 6th quickest. De Vries goes 4th. So it's Da Costa, Dennis, Bird, De Vries, Lynn and Freitz, the 6 drivers, and that is reasonable for Da Costa and Dennis in particular. Bird is not too far away. I think then that gap back to De Vries is quite big. But that is exactly what Da Costa did here last year to get himself in the title fight. And there is the Portuguese racer now. Of course, we've got to see what sort of lap time the other drivers can do, but this was Freitz at the final corner.
Yeah, just a bit, fractionally late. Was it a half a car length too late on the brakes? You saw the result, it locked up a bit, missed the apex, got on the marbles.
I don't know if he'd already maybe made a mistake at 9 as well, because he lost half a second in the final sector. It might have all been there.
I know, there's a good half a second in that, absolutely. Such a key corner, and he's not only lost into the corner that we saw, but all the way down on the drag to the finish line. So he won't be happy with that. But like you say, Jack, the 410s, you know, between Bird and De Vries, the 210s there, people are going to fill that gap up, absolutely.
So the first 6 drivers are done. Da Costa, Dennis, Bird, De Vries, Lynn and Freitz. And the top 2 in the championship, Nick De Vries and Robin Freitz, are going to be in for a tough afternoon in Berlin. Those are the top 6 then. And it is Da Costa, Dennis, Bird, De Vries, Lynn and Freitz in that order. But we've still got 18 drivers to come that are going to try and slot in. Qualifying Group 2 then, getting ready to head out. Nick Cassidy, Mitch Evans, the 2 New Zealanders, Eduardo Mortara, René Rast, Pascal Wehrlein and Jean-Eric Verne. These are the Group 2 racers. Pascal Wehrlein was the quickest of them in free practice 2 earlier on today, but any one of those you could see causing getting in the mix. But, well, in fact, let's hear from Mark Preston now, shall we? He's talking to Nicky after Da Costa has topped Group 1. Nicky.
I am indeed. Mark Preston, I mean, that is the way that you want to start today, isn't it, in Group 1?
Yeah, and definitely. I mean, yesterday Antonio had a little bit of trouble in FP1, and so he was a bit worried coming into today, but good preparation this morning, and yeah, he's really put it where you need to put it, right in Group 1.
He said that he's been everything has been thrown at him this season, but he really does value the team. He thinks he's got the best team behind him to, you know, still potentially win this championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he had to do today, obviously, Group 1, and he did it last year, so now we just got to see how the next groups unfold. Obviously, Jev out next, and we'll see how he goes as well, but really good start for the day.
And this is obviously very happy hunting ground for Antonio Felix da Costa, as it's where he won his championship last year.
Indeed, so super confident here now, and obviously after that he'll be even more confident, so let's see how it all turns out today.
Brilliant, good luck for this weekend. Thanks very much, Mark Preston.
They're very happy with that, aren't they, at the DS Techeetah team? And, well, they might be, as Pascal Wehrlein gets ready to head out onto the track in the Tag Heuer Porsche. Just looking straight ahead, I think, or down. I couldn't quite work it out. There's Jean-Eric Verne, another chap who's in... He was in a really good mood in London. He was in a pretty good mood yesterday as well, Jean-Eric Verne. So, but still focused at the same time.
Yeah, word from the team is it's the most focused they've seen him. So let's see. He's had a good history here in Berlin. Let's see if he can do it today and tomorrow, because it's going to be chaos. It's going to be completely unpredictable, and you need to have a cool head when things are moving around you.
There's a look down to Alexanderplatz and the TV tower in the centre of Berlin as Jean-Eric Verne makes his way out onto the track. So does Nick Cassidy in the other Envision Virgin car. And Mitch Evans has left the pit lane too. So it is those 3 in the order of Cassidy, Verne and Evans. And with 3 minutes to go, they look like they're going to do a banker lap.
And all potential pole position winners. I mean, you look at it and it's the story right throughout the field. It's really where's the weak spot.
Dennis has done well with that, because he was the first driver to turn it up, wasn't he? And he was the first to go full power on a dirty track. So he's done well there, Jake Dennis.
Yeah, again, quickest in both practice sessions. So yeah, it's not a surprise.
Mitch Evans on board with him now as he comes through the right-hander and then down towards turn 9.
At this point, he's trying to get the tyres in the operating window but not overheat them. That's it. That's the tricky part of it, getting them exactly where you need them, and the same with the brakes.
Now Wehrlein's just left the pit lane. You can see another car just pulling out of the garage as well. So I think that was Mortara. So they're doing just a full power lap straight away. These drivers aren't, as Nick Cassidy comes down towards the first corner. 2 pole positions in his debut season for Nick Cassidy. Got a pole position in Rome and then a pole position in the first race in New York. And 3 Super Pole appearances. Pole, and third is his Super Pole record.
Decent.
Exactly. No one on a full power lap yet, but I imagine Wehrlein, Rast and Mortara will be going straight to full power, whereas the others will be, well, they are on their preparation lap now. Then they'll turn it up to 250 kilowatts of power and get going, with Cassidy at the head of the queue at the moment.
And by this point, Jack, you're feeling the grip level already. You've got to you've got experience from practice of warming everything up. Okay, there's a bit less grip, there's a bit more grip. The balance is like this. If you can make some changes in the car to the settings, you will, to get the car where it needs to be.
And it's Pascal Wehrlein who's actually at the front of the queue, and he goes for it now then. Full power for the German at his and Porsche's home race. He has had a pole position in Puebla earlier on this year. 2 front row starts, 2 more front row starts as well in the second race in Puebla and the opening race of the season in Diriyah. And here he comes into turn 1. His benchmark time is Antonio Felix da Costa on a 1 minute 6.486.
Yeah, it's going to do a 23.0 through that first sector. That's the time to beat. Nice and smooth so far, but it's that question. It's smooth, yeah, but is it quick? Well,
through the first sector now, and Wehrlein is 0.02 away from Antonio Felix da Costa in sector 1. Da Costa's middle sector was really, really good. Only Robin Freitz got close to it, really. He was a couple of tenths quicker than Dennis and Bird and De Vries, so we'll see what Wehrlein can do. Fastest first sector of anyone for Jean-Eric Vergne. Nick Cassidy's a couple of tenths away. Evans is in the mix. Wehrlein's now lost a couple of tenths, or a tenth and a half in the middle sector.
Yeah, it didn't look great coming off of turn 6, Jack. It hit the ground quite hard on the braking for turn 6. Let's see here, it looks decent, but maybe look at him, his hands, he's not smooth on the steering wheel, so maybe he's struggling with a bit of an imbalance as he comes through turn 10 to the line.
Mortara's up in sector 1 as well. Wehrlein goes 3rd, slower than Da Costa and Dennis. Now here comes Nick Cassidy. I don't think he's going to challenge the front of the order. Vergne is still 800ths up after the first 2 sectors. Cassidy goes up into 5th place. Mortara is in the mix as well after the first 2 sectors. Here comes Vergne, quickest, a quarter of a second quicker than his DS Techeetah teammate. Rast goes 6th. Eduardo Mortara, Evans goes 3rd in the Jaguar, and Eduardo Mortara goes 2nd in the Venturi. Vergne, Mortara, Da Costa, Evans, Dennis and Wehrlein, the top 6. Da Costa and Dennis still hanging in there from Group 1, and he looks so happy.
Mark Preston, team principal, DS Techeetah, with his new low downforce haircut. Sylvain Philippe looking not quite as happy.
They weren't that happy with the car yesterday after practice, but to be fair, Freitz's time should have been, well, about Wehrlein birdie area, to be honest, if you take away that half a second he lost in the final sector. So it's not like he could have been up there with Da Costa by the looks of things, as Jerome D'Ambrosio and Susie Wolff have a conversation, the assistant team principal and team principal respectively of the Venturi squad. But things looking good for DS Techeetah. Vergne quickest, Da Costa 2nd, and they've both got a pretty good shot, to be honest, of getting through to Superpole. Still some very quick drivers to come in Group 3 though. These are the 12 that have qualified so far. Vergne, Mortara, Da Costa, Evans, Dennis and Wehrlein, the top 6. Bird missing out on Superpole. Rast, Cassidy, De Vries, Lynn and Freitz. So De Vries at best will start 10th, but I think he's going to get shuffled way further down than that in the order. Robin Freitz is almost guaranteed back at the grid with that lap, unfortunately for the Dutch driver, because we still have 12 more drivers to come. And look at that, Van Dorn, you've got to say, is in with a shout. De Grassi was very quick in free practice too. Gunter in the BMW Andretti was 3rd quickest in practice yesterday. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, exactly. Even Group 4.
Yeah.
The bottom 6 in the championship, there's potential pole sitters there. There's just no respite at the moment, and this, again, is going to be just shaken up so much more. The championship running order, that is, before this afternoon's race.
De Grassi, good in free practice too earlier on today. Was in the mix within a 10th of Jake Dennis's lap time, I think, at the top at the end of that session. And what can he do around Berlin? Stoffel Van Dorn getting ready to head out as well.
I mean, Stoffel Van Dorn's got to be a favourite for a big performance here. You know, it's been so fast in the Mercedes EQ all season. Had some absolutely dreadful luck, you know, in London too. So let's see if he can bring that championship back into line. I mean, it's difficult from where he is. 22 points back, but it's definitely possible.
Let's go and hear from James Barkley then. He's with Nikki.
So James Barkley, Mitch Evans P4 at the moment. Samba missing out there on Superpole. But what can Mitch do? Do you think that's going to be enough to get into Superpole?
Oh, it's going to be incredibly close, but I think, you know, a good lap from Sam to go third in Group 1. It's always going to be a challenging group, we know. A good lap from Mitch there. I think ultimately, you know, we have to hope this Group 3 is going to be incredibly strong, though. I mean, they've got the best group in terms of the track conditions, incredibly fast cars and drivers. So I think we need to be realistic. But if you look at where we are in terms of our competitors around us, we're actually in a pretty good place, you know. So got Nick behind us in the Mercedes, and, you know, the Envisions have been really quick, and they're a bit further back, and Jake's been flying in the BMW, so he's behind us. So yeah, it's really interesting. But this Group 3, I think we have to be realistic, is going to take a step forward. But we can absolutely race and fight from there, and that's the key thing, is getting points today.
All right, brilliant. Well, all the best of luck for the rest of qualifying. Thanks very much, James Barclay.
So James Barclay, the director of the Jaguar Racing operation. Oliver Rowland getting ready to head out. There goes Stoffel van Dorn, and he is the first driver to leave the pit lane then, Stoffel van Dorn. And the last driver to secure pole position in Berlin at Tempelhof was Stoffel van Dorn. Cannot remember what layout it was. What was the last layout in the last...
I wasn't here.
Oh, you weren't here, were you?
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. I mean, I watched all 6 races of the day, and I can't even remember.
Well, it wasn't this one.
It was not this one.
It was a different one. It was the reverse one with the extra bit, I believe. So, so that's the one that Van Dorn took pole position on. But nevertheless, they figured it out, Mercedes. I said to an engineer yesterday, actually, you were good here last year, and he said, yeah. Eventually, in the last race, we worked out what we needed to do to be quick, and they'll be hoping that they've kept those lessons.
And I think it's as much the surface, Jack, this concrete block surface. Look at the blocks there. It's as much that's very abrasive, very high tyre wear, not massive amounts of grip. And it's also the nature of these long corners. You know, turn 1, turn 6, turn 10. They're massively long corners, and they just torture the Michelin tyres you can see in the middle of your screen on the Degrassi's Audi. As he leaves the pits, the tension building in the Nissan garage.
Ian James, the team principal of the Mercedes EQ squad. Roger Griffiths at the back there for BMW I Andretti. Lotterer has turned it up, hasn't he, in the Porsche. Here he comes, so exactly what Pascal Wehrlein did in the previous session. And Andre Lotterer gets on the power, and let's see what he can do. A wide looping line into turn 10.
Absolutely setting up for straight line speed out of turn 10. He won't be doing that the next lap. He'll be trying to balance entry and exit speed. A wide line into one driver's eye view. This is right next to his left eye. So correcting a bit of slide. Look how long this corner goes on for, 270 degrees. So through the sort of slightly frustrating section of 2 and 3. Now you're just thinking exit, get to the apex first, then exit, back to throttle, try and stay flat through the kink of 5. Now you're trying to pick up your braking point for turn 6. Very difficult because the track is just so wide and bumpy into 6.
Slowest first sector of anyone for Andre Lotterer.
Wasn't expecting that from the Porsche. A couple of snaps of oversteer. It didn't look, there was no mistake it looked like.
Is the middle sector going to be any better for the German, who has been retained by the Porsche squad for next year? Comes through the middle sector now, and he's 4 tenths away. So this is looking like might struggle with the top 10. Gunter through the first sector is not bad, but not particularly good, a 23.160. So Gunter's a little bit away. Here comes Lotterer now out towards the line. And where is he going to slot? The answer is 10th place for the Porsche squad. So slower than his teammate Pascal Wehrlein by only a 10th of a second in the end. Here is Gunter. Oh,
there's the wall.
Yeah, on the exit of the corner. Van Dorn's a couple of tenths away in sector 1. So has the track just got a little too hot or something? That's something we occasionally see. The sun has come out now. It was a fairly breezy morning. Across the line comes Gunter. He only goes 7th quickest. Stoffel van Dorn is coming through the middle sector now. We're on board with him here, and he's 6 tenths away. Now, better first sectors coming in for Sims, Rowland and Degrassi. So I don't know what's going on with Stoffel van Dorn. His middle sector's 3 tenths slower than Jean-Eric Verne. The Mercedes EQ squad are going to be a long way down the order. In fact, De Vries might out-qualify Stoffel van Dorn here. Here comes Van Dorn across the line, and where does he go? 14th. Slower than Nick De Vries. Now here comes Degrassi. He's a little bit more on it. Goes up into 4th place for the Audi team. Rowland is only a couple of tenths away after the first 2 sectors. Sims goes 13th. Here comes Oliver Rowland. He's the last driver to come across the line. He's got a shot at Superpole. The man from Barnsley cuts the timing beam, takes the checkered flag. Oh, it's only 9th. Whoa. Wow, not much pace in Group 3.
I'd have lost a lot of money on that. I was saying to Vernon, oh, Group 3's the sweet spot. And yeah, as usual, I was wrong.
Wow, that's the reaction at Mercedes EQ.
Understandable.
Because in the team's championship, they are second, 7 points behind Envision Virgin, but they will be starting at best 15th and 17th on the grid.
And these guys, Verne, Mortara, Da Costa, De Grassi, Evans, Dennis, they're right in there.
Yeah.
In the championship. This is changed the complexion of things a little bit.
This is a replay of Gunter on the exit of 9.
Yeah, just watch the left rear in the wall. There you go. I just dropped it. I wouldn't even tell the team about that one. But unfortunately, they've seen it on TV. Watch onboard, you see the shock go through the camera as he hits it. Minimal. Just a rub.
Wow. Well, good job from Lucas De Grassi, because it must be some kind of track condition, right? It must have just got a little hotter or something. Yeah.
Don't know. I wish I could explain it.
Yeah.
The sun's been beating down for a couple of hours, so hey, great job by De Grassi there. Absolutely.
Yeah, very good stuff from Lucas De Grassi. So here are the results then. After 18 drivers, still got 4 to go. Jean-Eric Verne, Eduardo Mortara, Antonio Felix da Costa, Lucas De Grassi, Mitch Evans and Jake Dennis, the 6 drivers who at the moment would be going through to Superpole, but we've still got 6 drivers to come. Verline, Gunter, Roland, Bird has a 3-place grid drop, so he won't be inside the top 10. Things not looking good for Van Dorn, De Vries and Freins at all. So qualifying Group 4, Sebastian Buemi, Norman Natto, Sergio Sette Camera, Oliver Turvey, Tom Blomqvist and Joel Eriksson. Buemi, well, Roland didn't manage to do it, so realistically, and a 1 minute 6.7 is Norman Natto's time from earlier on. And that would only put him 10th. So these drivers have got to find something if they've got a shot at Superpole, and even a little magic lap from Sette Camera doesn't feel like it's going to be enough. I wouldn't. Again, we're talking about losing money, but I would put some on those top 6 currently being the top 6 at the end of the session.
I mean, Buemi's there's times he was being a qualifying machine in the earlier years of Formula E, struggled.
Still has the record for most pole positions in Formula E.
His qualifying performances this year have been pretty good. It's just a race performance, so I don't know. He could, despite what we see, maybe the performance in the Nissan, he could definitely get up into the top 6 here, Jack. I don't know. I'd back him at this point. Norman Natto, rookie this year, you just don't know. It's been kind of hit or miss with Norman, and one lap performance has been strong. As we hear, somebody's left the pit lane. 3 Superpole appearances for Natto, 2nd on the grid in Rome, and then 6th in Valencia and London. I think it was the Mercedes going back to the garage, wasn't it? After being weighed up at the top, but that's the top 6 at the moment that would be advancing through to Superpole. Joel Eriksson there for the Dragon team. He secured his best ever qualifying in London in 10th place. Well, we saw the dismay at Mercedes EQ. Nicky's down there.
I am indeed here with Ian James. Ian, P15, P17. Not the typical numbers that we're talking about normally here at Mercedes. What happened in that qualifying?
No, I think we need to take a look at that and understand exactly what's gone on. I think in Group 3, none of the times seemed particularly quick, so whether we've seen something with the track evolution, not the evolution, but the temperatures, I think whether they've played a role. But at the end of the day, we've not ended up where we needed to be, and we need to correct that for tomorrow.
And can you claw that back in the race?
It's going to be tough from where we're at the moment. There's no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, as you well know, anything can happen in Formula E, so we'll be focusing on our strategy and making sure we can make the best out of it.
All the best. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Nikki.
Wow. DS Techeetah have kind of smashed it again, haven't they? They had a front row lockout here last year, didn't they, for the first race, or for one of the races? Maybe 2 of them.
Just go back to what Ian James said. It's one thing if all the championship contenders are at the back, but with the DS Techeetah guys at the front, Da Costa, De Grassi's up there too, Mortara, it makes the Mercedes EQ's job even harder.
indeed. Final 6 cars heading out onto the circuit in a moment. And Antonio Felix da Costa there, the reigning champion, is looking good at getting through to Superpole and having a chance at starting at the front. Having said that about Ian James, well, Ian James saying that, you know, the championship contenders are up at the front and they're at the back. Da Costa is 15 points behind Nick de Vries at the top of the championship. So, okay, if he wins and de Vries doesn't score, he takes a 10-point lead into tomorrow. But if he finishes second, da Costa, then he's only getting up in the mix with de Vries. It's not like he's pulling miles clear, and that's where de Vries' advantage is that he does have, okay, it's only 6 points over France, but it's 14 over Bird and Dennis, 15 over da Costa. So there is that. They have got a bit of wiggle room today, at least, Mercedes.
Today, but it only counts tomorrow after the race, and I wouldn't, obviously if you can help it, you don't want to be giving anything away to da Costa, because the Techeetahs have been so strong here. That's the worrying thing. We're hearing a lot of the drivers saying, those who did a preparation lap saying, yeah, mistake, we overheated everything, brakes, tyres, yeah.
Well, here is Tom Blomqvist. There is Jean-Eric Verne. Quickest at the moment, almost, well, I would say he's through to Superpole. We'll see. Here comes Oliver Turvey, first across the line, down towards the first corner. Swings it into the left-hander. He's at full power here, Oliver Turvey. So he is going straight out for a push lap. And we'll see what he can do as he swings now through the right at 3, then down to turn 4 on the power. And through the first sector split. And Oliver Turvey is 2/10 down in sector 1. As he then comes down towards turn 6. Tom Blomqvist, his teammate, you can hear it, the car moving there as he got on the brakes.
Yeah, you can see it jumping over those bumps as well. It didn't look like the dampers were working so well. They had a very aggressive front end setup, very stiff front end setup, it looked like, going over those bumps. It's Sergio Sette Camera. We know one thing about Sergio Sette Camera. It will be action-packed watching his qualifying lap.
Absolutely. He's 2 or 3 tenths away after the first sector. Joel Eriksson is 7 tenths away. Buemi does the fastest first sector of anyone. So Sebastian Buemi, who's had some really impressive drives here in the past, he carved through the field one year, didn't he? Overtaking about 7 people at turn 9. But he has gone quickest in the first sector. Natto's done a reasonable sector 1 as well. And here is Buemi sliding his way through down towards turn 9. He's about a 10.5 down now, but he's still very much in the ballpark for Superpole here, Buemi. And it's Jake Dennis who is on the bubble. So Dennis in 6th place is the one in danger of being shuffled out. Natto is only 2 tenths down after the middle sector as well. So Dennis and Evans, I think, are the 2 that are under pressure. Here comes Buemi across the line. And he goes 4th. Dennis shuffled out of Superpole. Now it's Norman Natto across the line, and he goes 2nd. Evans shuffled out of Superpole. It'll be Verne, Natto, Mortara, da Costa, Buemi and de Grassi, the top 6. Both Rocket Venturi cars through to Superpole.
Massive for the Rocket Venturi team with the Mercedes EQ powertrain. Phenomenal stuff from them.
And I think that's the first... No, they were both in... It's the first time this season they've both been in Superpole for the Venturi team. And this is the thing, this is the key part where you make your breaks, because da Costa was quicker than Jake Dennis by a 1/10 of a second. But that means, that 1/10 means he's in Superpole and Dennis is 8th. And that means he could be on pole position because he's into Superpole with Dennis 8th. And that's the fascinating part. So everyone, apart from Norman Natto and Sebastian Buemi, are in title contention as well in the Superpole session. So 2 French, 2 Swiss, 4 French speakers, 2 Portuguese speakers in the top 6 of Superpole, which of course are the stats that we all need to know and that are really important in this championship fight. But Verne, Natto, Mortara, da Costa, Buemi and de Grassi will be the top 6. Nick de Vries will start 19th on the grid. Robin Freins will start 23rd. Sam Bird will be starting 15th on the grid after his 3-place grid drop is applied. But we've still got Superpole to come. this is the issue with Group 1, isn't it? Because if you, the spread is so huge. Da Costa 4th, Lin, Freintz 21st and 23rd.
Yeah, it's just that slight mistake you can make. Normally we see all the Group 1 guys at the back, but again, Da Costa has made that break, as you said, Jack. And it's like a race. You get, you let one person sort of, you get held up behind one person for a couple of corners, and the next thing you know, you're half a lap behind towards the end. Let's watch on board with Jean-Eric Vergne with this incredible lap, let's be honest. Let's just listen to him braking. I mean, perfect, the rotation right where you want it. In the middle of turn 1. Good traction. Nice car placement. Absolutely great. This is the tricky part coming up. Listen to the car hitting the ground. It shows you how bumpy it is, right? But he absolutely got it spot on. Float the speed through turn 7, up on the curb. Oh, he actually didn't. He's got time to make up through 7. Brakes well. Late apex, but that gets it nice and straight on the acceleration. No snap overs there. Let's see how good the car accelerates through 10. Because you're turning and braking at the same time, and the car doesn't like to do two, or the tyres don't like to do two things at once. Shortcuts to the line, and we know the result, but a phenomenal controlled lap from Jean-Eric Vergne. Easy to overdrive as much as underdrive in qualifying, and Jean-Eric Vergne absolutely nailed it. See the super slow-mo, that's out of turn 4.
So Jean-Eric Vergne will be going out last in the session in Super Pole in a few moments' time. And and this is good as Lucas Di Grassi gets ready to go, the 37-year-old from Sao Paulo. And this is his 83rd Formula E start in the 83rd Formula E race. But for DS Techeetah, both cars in the top 6, they're looking to win the team's championship for the third time on the trot, and they've got a really good chance of picking up big points today. As we look at Sebastian Buemi, missed 2 races in New York City. That's why he's only on 80 races, and that was at the end of season 3. Well, Buemi getting ready to head out. Da Costa getting ready to head out. Antonio Felix da Costa getting ready to go for the final Super Pole shootout in qualifying for the 14th and penultimate round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. This is going to decide who gets pole position. Will it be Eduardo Mortara for the Rocket Venturi team? The 34-year-old ready to head out onto the circuit. But one driver who won't be on pole position, who'll be starting 8th on the grid, is Jake Dennis, and he is talking to Nicky Shields.
Jake Dennis, it was a phenomenal start to the day, quickest in both practice sessions, but a bit of traffic in qualifying has really caught you out, hasn't it?
Yeah, it did. Obviously, sector 3 it got pretty bunched up with the 3 guys in front of me, and obviously I ended up losing like a 10th and a half in the last corner with Nick right in front of me, and we missed Super Pole by 400. So it's compromised us quite heavily, to be honest. It's a bit disappointing that he hasn't received a penalty for it, because I was clearly hindered, but it is what it is. We move on and we start 8th, so yeah, full attack in the race for sure.
And when all the other drivers around you are doing a sort of warm-up lap and not going straight into the quali lap, does that cross your mind and make you think you're going to change your strategy, or
well,
always going to do a quali lap?
We already slowed down massively on the build lap, because we soon realised everyone was doing like an out build, so we compromised our out lap massively because we knew we would catch them, but in the end they slowed down that much, we still ended up catching them, so there's nothing more we could have done. It is what it is, and maybe we just move on from it.
All right, good luck for the race. Thanks very much, Jake Dennis.
Yeah, interesting there from Jake Dennis. He basically caught Nick de Vries right at the final corner. Disappointed he didn't get a penalty. Not that it would have helped Dennis, but de Vries 19th on the grid. These are the Super Pole drivers. Di Grassi, Buemi, Da Costa, Mortara, Natto and Vergne will be going out in that order. And Dennis is absolutely right. Those 400s that missed him out on Super Pole could be costly definitely come qualifying, because instead of starting on potentially the front row, he's 8th on the grid.
You've got to say he had the pace to challenge for pole as well, so that could be a very costly issue, shall we say.
So there's Degrassi, waiting to head out onto the circuit. Hasn't had a huge amount of pole positions in his Formula E career, only 3 for Lucas Degrassi, and the last one was 50 races ago in Montreal season 3.
His strength has definitely been race pace and sort of making those charges from the back, but if he qualifies and he's going to be certainly in the top 6, obviously he's dangerous today.
Well, he's had 3 pole positions but 11 front row starts, so obviously that equals 8 second place qualifyings. So 8 second place qualifyings is very impressive, but only 3 times he's managed to, find that last 100th and secure pole.
And the points that go with it. 3 points for pole position today. That man there, Jean-Eric Vergne, already got 1 point for top and group qualifying.
Yeah, and 12 pole positions in his Formula E career, Jean-Eric Vergne. And of course his last pole came here in Berlin last year. As he gets ready to head out onto the circuit. Here comes Lucas Degrassi then. Let's see what he can do. The Brazilian making his way onto the track. First out in Super Pole. Does that make much of a difference?
I guess you're balancing track temperature going up even more with the sun beating down, with the track being even cleaner, shall we say, for Jean-Eric Vergne going out last. So I don't know, the fact you're in Super Pole, I think it's the track evolution has definitely started to even out. So no preparation lap here. It's basically out in the last sector, turning it up to full power, 250 kilowatts, and go. Tires are already, they're still warm. You see them warming the brakes, but tires are already they're still warm from your qualifying lap. He's got a flat spot though at some point.
He's locking them quite a lot, isn't he?
Yeah, they're very resilient because they're all conditioned tires for wet and dry, but that's pushing it a bit, isn't it?
Here comes Degrassi then, full power now. No, he's not at the last corner. He's at turn 6. He's loving the locking.
Yeah, he might be a bit concerned about that. I don't know if he's thinking, uh-oh, brake balance is out, and he's frantically changing controls in the car to try and get it in the window. We'll find out the first time he touches the brakes in turn 1.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, that's lovely. Slowed down well in 9, so I think he's got everything under control. He was just building brake temperature and possibly tire temperature. Again, he'll take that wide line into turn 10 on this first lap to maximise the speed on entry, or the exit, sorry, back to full throttle.
Here we go then, Lucas Degrassi's shot at qualifying and his shot at pole position for the penultimate race of the Formula E World Championship season here in Berlin. Tucks it in very early into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely, and then took let the car drift out in the middle, but you're right, Jack, quite an early apex.
Now down towards the left-hander of turn 4.
He does that odd thing again that Lucas does. He almost looks through the corner, turns his head the opposite direction of travel. What does the first split tell us?
Oh, it's good, It's a 23.056, so that is very much in the ballpark of what we've been seeing earlier on. The car bouncing on the brakes into turn 6. On board we go.
He's doing a good job of getting the car straight on exits and getting back to throttle.
The message, because Audi leaving Formula E at the end of the year. Now through the middle sector, it's a 20.689. It's not bad as well. It's always a little bit different in the Super Pole session in terms of lap time, but this is looking like it's going to be a mid to low 1:06 for Degrassi. Out of the final corner now. Cuts the timing beam, and Degrassi does a 1:06.427. I think that's solid. A round of applause from Alan McNish, the team principal. I think that's solid. Is it enough? We'll have to wait and see.
I think the gauges, it was enough to get him into Super Bowl by quite a bit, so that shows me it's a good lap, because normally we see Super Pole performance go down because against the tyres are kind of out of the operating window, but I think good job by Lucas Degrassi.
We'll be seeing 2 Venturis in Super Pole for the first time this season. Their team principal is Susie Wolf and is with Nikki.
So not 1 but 2 drivers in Super Pole. Congratulations, but what can you do from here? This is the start of a good weekend.
Absolutely, it's momentum, and obviously we've shown that the car has pace. We've got to deliver in the race. Here it is a bit easier to overtake than at other tracks that we've seen, but certainly a very good start to the day.
looking at what DS Techeetah have just done, you know, bearing in mind Antonio Felix Costa was in Group 1, do you think they're the team to beat here in Berlin?
We always know that they're a very solid team that have an incredibly quick car, so I think we expected them to be up the front. Obviously, there wasn't much improvement in the groups in qualifying, which helped a lot, especially for us with Edo in Group 2, so that's what has allowed us to have 2 cars in the top 4. But I have to say, a great lap from Norman at the end.
Great, well, good luck for Superpole. Thank you.
Sebastian Buemi in the Nissan Edams out on circuit now, coming down towards turn 1. He and De Grassi, very much rivals back in the day. And
I think they still are.
Well, yeah, I think they came together in Rome, didn't they, earlier on this season? And we'll see what Buemi has in the first sector compared to Lucas De Grassi. He is down by just over a tenth of a second, and he's slower than he managed in the first sector in his group qualifying lap, Sebastian Buemi.
This is, again, driver's eye view, but he's not going to be happy with that first split. And he'll have that information on the dashboard, just as we have it on the timing screens, and then we'll have to start taking more and more risks in these following corners if he wants to try and qualify up at the front. The worst he can do is 6th.
He was really wide at turn 6, I think. When we went on board with him, I just wondered if he was a bit wide, and actually he's lost 0.4 of a second in that middle sector. Not good for Buemi. Here he comes into the final corner now at turn 10. Gets on the power and heads out towards the line, but this is not going to challenge Lucas De Grassi, who remains on provisional pole position, and Buemi is a good 0.6 back.
Ouch. That's, yeah, you just see that yourself.
Tommaso Volpe there, nearest towards us. The Nissan Global Head of Motorsport. Like I say, I think it was at 6 where Buemi was just a little wide. This is him coming down towards turn 9. The final sector was okay, but again, still lost time in every sector compared to Lucas De Grassi, who remains on provisional pole position.
Wide there from that camera angle in turn 4, but as you say, Jack, probably the most time lost in turn 6.
Right, here comes next up Antonio Felix da Costa in the DS Techeetah, Mark Preston's man, who won the championship here last year. They've been the drivers' champion for the last 3 seasons, DS Techeetah, the team's champion for the last 2. Big lap coming up now for the man 5th in the championship. He's got through to Superpole from Group 1. Can he convert that to a pole position, which would put him in an incredibly strong position going into the final race of the season tomorrow?
It looks like he slid a little bit on the entry to 1. Whether it was because he was just carrying so much speed or not, we'll find out in 1 second as we, more than 1 second actually, as we get to the first timeline.
He's up by 100th on Lucas De Grassi. Da Costa now down towards turn 6.
Hear him on the brakes, off the brakes. Bit of a flick of oversteer just as he turned into the back of the car, coming round just a little bit. Hopefully it helped him rotate the car and not cost him time. Coming to the second split now.
6 pole positions in his Formula E career, and he's 700ths up now, coming into turn 9. It's going to be tight. There's less than a tenth of a second in it at the moment. De Grassi's lap time was good.
Yeah, it really was, Jack. And remember, a bit of a lock up there, but it's 3 points on offer here, which could make all the difference come the end of the race tomorrow.
Da Costa to the line then. The DS Techeetah driver, the reigning champion, goes to provisional pole position by over a tenth of a second. A 1:06.3 for the Portuguese. And that is provisional pole with 3 drivers to run. And Lucas De Grassi misses out on the pole position, but it was still a good lap, and he's still very much in the mix. Here's a look at Da Costa's lap again, just great.
Fabulous controlled lap. It's those ones that don't look quick that generally are. He's finding the absolute limit of the tyre. Look how early he's winding the steering lock off out of turn 4. That definitely bodes well.
Venturi next up. Eduardo Mortara. No pole positions in his Formula E career. Started second on the grid once in Hong Kong. And here he comes now across the line, down towards turn 1, Eduardo Mortara. The Italian-Swiss racer. Mercedes EQ powertrain in the back of the Rocket Venturi. Coming through 2 and 3, little bit of a slide on the power.
You can see him setting the car up for the exits of the corner. He's taking quite a sort of diamonding the corner. Let's see if this technique works.
He's about half a tenth away in the first sector. He's about 300 slower than De Grassi. So he's still in the mix, is Eduardo Mortara.
Half a tenth. Think of that, how little time that is. And that's what the drivers are dealing with. It's a time increments them and the teams are dealing with.
Onto the brakes into 9 comes Mortara. He's now over a tenth away from Da Costa. He's going to need a big final sector here if he wants to split Da Costa and De Grassi, Eduardo Mortara. He's going to get ahead of Sebastian Buemi, you would have thought. Gets on the power out of the final corner, heads towards the line. And Eduardo Mortara in the Rocket Venturi slots into 3rd place. Was quicker than De Grassi in the final sector, but not by enough. 100th slower than the Brazilian.
Type 100.5.
Yeah.
All right.
But they've still got another shot at it.
I was going to say, out next, Natto, another Rocket Venturi. And look how well the car rotated through the middle of turn 3. Edo Mortara was able to get back to throttle quite early there. In his first sector, yeah, it was just about there, but a bit wider again than we saw Antonio Felix da Costa out of turn 4. So that means that Mortara's going to come. Turn 5 is more of a corner for him because he's wider out of 4.
So more focus needed for the Venturi team. As next up, it's Norman Natto. Here comes the Frenchman from Cannes. Second on the grid in the second race in Rome. Ended up leading that race after Nick Cassidy spun out. Shuffled back down the order towards the end. But here comes Natto into turn 1.
He sent it into turn 1, I have to say. He was super late on the brakes. Let's see if that works on the first split. But wow, impressive entry speed into 1.
Get his first sector split, as you say, in a moment. Through the right-hander. And out across that first sector split, and he's 600ths down on Da Costa. It is it's the slowest other than Buemi in the first sector, Norman Natto. So the fourth quickest, first sector for Norman Natto, but still plenty of the lap to go as he comes through turn 7 now. Some marbles on the outside of the corner as he comes through the middle sector. He's only 700ths away. It's a very good middle sector. It's the second quickest middle sector. So Natto here has a shot at maybe getting ahead of Lucas Di Grassi.
And he absolutely shaved the wall out of turn 9. But yeah, Jack, I heard you there. At turn 10, he made a mistake back to throttle. The car just wasn't able to take the pressure on the rear tyres.
And that costs him. Natto goes 4th quickest, slower than Eduardo Mortara. He lost over a tenth of a second in that final sector compared to Da Costa. It was slower than De Grassi and Mortara, and he slots into 4th position. So it's a DS Techeetah pole position. Whatever happens now, DS Techeetah will start at the front of the grid for the Berlin E-Prix. Here's a look at Natto again, coming into the first corner. This is him up at 6.
Those marbles on the outside of 7 that we see, that's going to get interesting this afternoon, because when people take attack mode, they're going to be running or trying to run side by side through there.
So still 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th on the grid for the Venturi team is a very solid effort. DS Techeetah have pole position. Will it be him, Antonio Felix da Costa, or will it be him, Jean-Eric Verne?
The inter-team battle.
And will it be a front row like we saw last year and it all kicked off?
It kicked off here, it kicked off in Saudi round 1 and 2 this year.
Here comes Verne then. Down towards turn 1. '12th in the championship at the moment, Jean-Eric Verne.
He's already got 1 point for top in group qualifying. He needs those 3 points for the pole position now. Oh, used all the curb, got up on the white part of the curb, which bit unorthodox.
Through the first sector, and he's 400ths away from Da Costa. We're on board with him now.
And this is the point, you brake a fraction later, or you release the brakes just a fraction earlier, try and carry that speed, or get back to the throttle just a bit bit earlier and see if it can take it, because you've got to make up that time very close to the wall in 8.
Oh, he's made it up in the middle sector, Vern. He's 100th up on Da Costa. This is going to be mighty close between the two TS cheaters. Is it going to be a front row lockout? It's certainly looking that way if he's neat and tidy through 10.
Back to the throttle now, nice and early. Oh, yeah, very early.
Easy.
Very early back to throttle.
Brilliant stuff from Vern. Is it enough to beat his teammate Da Costa to pole? Yes, it is. 700ths of a second.
Come on, baby, yes.
A DS Techeetah front row lockout. And they've put themselves in a brilliant position to move to the top of the championship come later this afternoon. And Da Costa doing it from Group 1. That's the remarkable part of it all. Third on the grid will be Lucas Di Grassi. Still a long way to go, a 45-minute plus 1 lap race. But DS Techeetah, the ominous thing is they've got the pace, you know?
They've got the race pace, absolutely, Jack. They've got the energy efficiency, they've got the tyre efficiency as well for this afternoon in this heat. Wow.
That moves Jean-Eric Vern up to joint 10th in the championship alongside René Rast. And then if Vern were to win the race, obviously a long way to go, but if Vern wins the race, he would move 2 points clear of Nick de Vries at the top of the championship going into tomorrow, potentially. Potentially. But obviously, Da Costa would, if he finishes second, would score 18 points, and then he would be there with de Vries. In fact, Da Costa would be 1 point ahead of Vern. If it finishes how they start, Da Costa would be 1 point ahead of Vern at the top of the championship, who would be 2 points ahead of Nick de Vries. So that's how tight it's going to be.
Got you, Jack. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that is it. It's going to change by the corner today. That was
so
the point.
Much curb.
Yeah, unusual. And yeah, I don't know if he'd thought that out before. That's the kind of thing you keep in your pocket. You don't want your teammate to see your data, and then you pull that one out in Super Bowl. Apparently, I wouldn't do such a thing though. Talk about performing when the pressure is on. It's a world championship at stake.
Yeah. Jean-Eric Vern, pole position for the BMW I Berlin E-Prix, presented by CBM Niobium. And what a great performance from Vern. Another pole position. He's getting closer and closer, actually, to Sebastian Buemi's record, because that is now Vern's 13th career pole position. So he's only 1 behind Buemi. And here's a look at the results after qualifying then. This is how the grid will line up. Well, mostly. Jean-Eric Vern will be on pole position. Antonio Felix da Costa alongside him on the front row. Di Grassi, Mortara, Natto and Buemi are the top 6. And then it's Evans, Dennis, Verline, Gunter, Roland and Bird, the top 12. Bird will have a 3-place grid drop. And then we've got Rast, Cassidy, Lotterer, Sims, and some of the other front runners. Nick de Vries, 19th on the grid. Stoffel Van Dorn, 22nd. Robin Freitz, 23rd. It's going to be a really interesting day come to. But here's the thing with DS Techeetah, right? As Vern high fives his teammate. We'll hear from them in a moment, but it doesn't matter that being in Group 1 doesn't seem to matter. That's the big issue
here, in Berlin.
Here in Berlin, that's the issue their rivals have, is DS Techeetah can do it from Group 1. That's what happened here last year. DS Techeetah could do it from Group 1, and none of their rivals could. That's going to be the key thing tomorrow. So let's hear from our pole sitter, shall we? Jean-Eric Vern is going to be starting on pole position. Da Costa second, Di Grassi third, and we'll hear from all of the top 3. I think Di Grassi's going to be quite positive as well. Well, you would have thought, because that's a very, very good qualifying performance from the Audi driver. But first up, Nicky Shields is speaking to the pole sitter.
Jean-Eric Vern, an unbelievable qualifying. You have put yourself right back in championship contention.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we knew it was important coming here, that I needed to get the pole, get those points, be in the best position for the race to try and win it. And that's what we've done so far. So now we just need to finish this day in style and scoring maximum points to be in a in a good position for the title fight tomorrow.
I mean, fantastic to have a front row lockout for the team. And this just seems to be a track where the car runs so well. You've had so much success here in the past as well.
Yeah, I mean, we need to understand why this track we're fast and some other ones were not fast enough. But I'm pretty happy to have the final in Berlin this weekend.
Brilliant. Well, now I'm going to invite Marco Peroni from Julius Baer to present you with your pole position trophy. Huge congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So another pole position for Jean-Eric Vergne. 13th of his career. And what a performance it was, taking all of the curb there down at turn 4. Seemed to harm him, did it? Well, his first sector actually wasn't purple. He was 400 slower than Da Costa, but very quick. Sectors 2 and 3 to take pole position by 0.07 of a second. But it will be his DS Techeetah teammate lining up alongside him on the front row of the grid, and they have had some heated confrontations in the past. So let's hear from him.
Well, Antonio Felix Costa, this feels very familiar. You and Jean-Eric Vergne starting at the front row in Berlin.
Yeah, I'm super relieved because we didn't have the smoothest of free practice. So great work from the team to bring me back up slowly into this position to be able to put it in Super Pole from Group 1 is great. And then yeah, really well fought out in I think the top 5 are within a couple of tenths only, so super close, and Jeff did a really good lap there at the end, pipping me out. So well done to him, well done to the team. And honestly, for the championship is the best we could have done today so far. So we got a long and needs to be a smart race ahead of us now.
Because you said coming into this weekend, I think that this season, everything's been thrown at you, but you felt that the team has really put in so much work and everything was on the line this weekend.
Now we're here, still standing and ready. So I think it's going to be, I'm approaching this weekend with such a cool life experience to be able to come here, fight for a world championship against some of the best drivers in the world. So, just having fun, and what will be, will be.
Here to defend that title. Thanks very much, Antonio Felix da Costa.
What will be, says Antonio Felix da Costa. Second on the grid. And a sensible race is going to be interesting. When will DS Techeetah allow their drivers to battle it out? Because they will ultimately be battling it out for the World Championship. And what can Lucas de Grassi do from third on the grid? A good performance from him. He's with Nicky.
Lucas de Grassi, huge congratulations. Starting from P3 in the grid, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. It was a good quali. Managed to squeeze the maximum out of the car in both laps, and yeah, I think from P3 we definitely are in contention to win the race. The car we know it's very good in the race, and we're going to push very hard.
And fantastic, given that this is Audi's last weekend in Formula E, brilliant result for the team to
Thank you,
start.
yes, it's really good. It's a shame that Audi is leaving. Been an amazing 7 years, and but we have to finish with, like we say in Portuguese, we have to close the door with a golden key.
Excellent, thanks very much, good luck for the race.
What a lovely saying. Close the door with a golden key. And Lucas de Grassi has done his best to do that, hasn't he? Third on the grid, and the Audi has been so strong in race pace this year. They really have a chance of beating DS Techeetah this afternoon. And if de Grassi were to win the race, I mean, he's a little far back, but he would move up to 87 points if he wins the race, and that would only be 7 points back from Nick de Vries. Sorry, 8 points back from Nick de Vries. So they're still in with a shout. It's going to be a really, really fascinating couple of days, but all of the other teams need to work out what DS Techeetah are doing and how DS Techeetah are bringing the fight so well from Group 1. It's absolutely remarkable. Hashtag Berlin E-Prix. The race coming up a little bit later on today, and it's going to be a real thriller.
Right, we're with Eduardo Mortara and Dario Franchitti. Edo, fantastic to see two Rocket Venturis in Super Pole.
Yeah, great results actually for the team. Looked like it was working quite good for us today. There's still a long race ahead in front of us, but hopefully we can have a good strong result in the race.
Give
give us some idea, when you're out there in a qualifying lap and the margins, you're dealing with thousandths of a second between cars. How difficult is it to know where the limit is?
It's so tough. You have to find, it's always a compromise between how much you push, and you cannot be at 100%, especially with these cars, because it's very easy to do mistakes. So it's always a very fine compromise, and this exercise of the quali is, this one lap is extremely tough.
What's been your goals the weeks coming into this weekend? What have you tried to achieve, and what have you tried to implement on the track today?
Well, we were coming from two difficult race weekends in New York and London, because we were in Group 1s, and we knew coming here, starting from the Group 2, that we had the chance actually to qualify quite well. And so the idea was to give it proper push, and try to start from the front, score good points, and let's see in the final race.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much.
So Edo, this race this afternoon, it's hot, it's energy management track, it's tyre management. What's the plan? How difficult is it, what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be difficult. On top of that, if you look at the tarmac, it's very abrasive, so for the tires it's extremely difficult. It's going to be a big challenge, but it's the same for everyone, and hopefully we can be competitive. It's going to be a question of how good prepared you are, and let's see.
Edo, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's bring in Sebastian Buemi. Seb, come on, thank you. Seb, just explain to us, what's it like out there, conditions-wise?
I think I was expecting more track improvement, to be honest, from last year. Group 1 was already really fast, so basically if you manage to get into Superpole from Group 1 or 2, then obviously the tires are a bit cooler for Superpole. I was unfortunately in Group 4, so I did the best I could, but somehow, I don't really get why I was so far off in Superpole and, having the purple first sector in quali, so we'll see in the race, I suppose.
When you're in the car, does it feel different when, you're group qualifying lap compared to Superpole? Because it looked on TV, it looked pretty good. Does it feel different in the track? Can you feel the time bleeding away in the car?
Yeah, you feel you have less traction, the tires are overheating, you slide more basically, and it's just more difficult to go back on power, and you feel like you're losing time, but obviously I lost more than the others, so yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Interesting that you guys, the race pace, is it there this weekend on this surface? Because everyone talks about this surface because it's the most unique surface we have in Formula E. It's just pure concrete. It's really abrasive and it's difficult to race on. But have you got it? Can you do it this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I hope. Honestly, 0.2 of a second makes a big difference, makes you look like a hero or, really bad.
It's crazy.
So we'll have, I suppose, to wait for the race and see. But it's really a track where the speed in the race is important, because overtaking is definitely much easier than London. So if you don't have the speed, it's going to be difficult to keep up.
How much is attack mode going to play in this afternoon?
Maybe slightly less than in London, because you can pass. So of course you want to lose the minimum amount of time taking it. You want to take it at what you consider the right time. But normally you can pass back. Where in London, some guys got stuck, and even in attack mode, they couldn't pass. So I'd say maybe it's slightly less important, but that will have a big impact on the tire temperature, the management of the tires, because you have more power, so you give them a harder time.
It's always nice to see yourself, Lucas and Jev up there in the top 6, old school battles. I mean, I know it's a very young motor racing series, but it's nice to see the old school battles. Thank you very much, as always, Sebastian Buemi.
Thank you, sir.
Let's bring in Mark Preston, a man with probably the biggest smile here in Berlin. Let's show us your pearly whites, Mark. There you go. New haircut as well. You guys love Berlin. It really is that simple. There's something about this track, there's something about your team, something about your cars that just works here in Berlin.
I think I was just saying, we've been here since season 1, haven't we? So therefore I'm trying to remember if every year we've been
Different
here.
track in season 1, wasn't it? It was the one downtown.
Yes.
I think.
But this surface we've been here for a while, and we had some pretty bad races here before, so we've worked here very, very hard over the last few years.
Well, let's not forget last year when we did 6 races in 9 days, and Antonio came out with 2 wins off the bat, won the championship in the first 2 races. What is it, Mark? What do you do? I mean,
What's the secret?
We've had this conversation privately, and you told me, I'm not exposing anything, but you said we put it all into quali.
Yeah, I mean, here you have to qualify well. Obviously, today it was really important, and Antonio did it from Group 1, and obviously Jev from Group 2. So that's what they had to do, and now we're in the same position as we were, I think, the third race or the second race last year. So, yeah, we've been here before, and we've delivered before, so it's just all about repeating stability, doing the same things you've done before, and when you're confident, then you can get sort of extra confidence, I suppose.
Let's talk about things that have happened before, Mark. We've had some inter-team battles that you've had to control between
Mark
your
hates
drivers.
this question, by the way. He'll give you a different answer about, let's say, the weather. But good luck, Dario.
Yeah. How do you control both your drivers? They're both going for a World Championship this weekend. They're both capable of winning it, and they're both starting on the front row.
Well, the weather's nice today, isn't it?
Mark, are you going to let them race?
I mean, no, they know what we're going to do this weekend. We're behind in both of them are behind in the drivers and both in the team. So we know what we've got to do. We've got to come away with a championship or 2 championships if it's possible. So
yeah, but both drivers want to win it, Mark. Come on.
Yeah. And not only that, you've got 2 fiery drivers as well.
But we know we've got to win both championships if we can. So they know what we've got to do, and we know what we've got to do. So the competition's close and the competition's hot behind us. So as we saw in the first races last year, we've got to keep ahead of them and see what we can bring home.
Good luck controlling that battle today.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, it was no surprise that you guys were going to do well here. So congratulations, a complete lockout at the front, 1 and 2 with Jev on pole position and Antonio in second. Awesome stuff. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mark. You. Dario, that was a fantastic performance from the guys.
Yes, it was. I mean, when the pressure's on, everybody comes here and they just, DS Techeetah delivered. And they said to me this morning, they said, Jean-Eric Vergne is the most focused we've ever seen him. They said, don't count us out. They weren't lying, were they? They were telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, another driver who's in the mix is Robin Freins. Not so good, really, today, but Nicky is with his boss, Sylvain Philippe.
I am indeed. Sylvain, let's talk through qualifying today because, I mean, Robin Freins lost a bit of time, was it turn 10, and we'd be starting from P23, and then Nick Cassidy from P15. So you've got your work cut out today, haven't you?
Yeah, not the ideal start for the final doubleheader for sure. It's annoying for Robin because he was on a really good lap. He lost a bunch of time in one corner, but otherwise the pace was there. And as we saw with DS Techeetahs, Group 1 was not so bad here, so it's a bit of a lost opportunity. But look here, it's a track we can overtake. Our race pace is usually very strong, so we don't despair. We'll fight during the race and see where we are. And then I love double headers at the moment because we get to go again tomorrow. So.
Well, that is the good news. Yeah, you get a bit of time to redeem yourself from today and put it into practice tomorrow. Looking at DS Techeetah, that performance that we've seen from them today, I mean, Antonio Felix da Costa in Group 1, pretty spectacular when it comes to pace.
Yeah, it was mighty. And he's done it last year, so they are clearly very comfortable on this track. But yeah, they basically capitalized on the opportunity. We should have done the same, but it's easy. When you have a few tenths difference, it's easier said than done. So, but no, well done to them. Now we have to score a lot of points. They are further behind us in the championship, so they're probably going to catch up at least. But then we go again tomorrow. So
exactly.
It's only on Sunday night.
Can Robin finish in the points today, starting from 2030?
We've done it before. It's a tall order. But you can overtake, and it's a track that's pretty heavy on energy management. So we are good at these 2 things. So on paper, we can make up a lot of places. Enough, I don't know. We'll see.
Brilliant. Well, you've got the team to do it, and the drivers, of course, as well. Sylvain Philippe, thank you so much, and good luck for the race. And again tomorrow, of course.
Thank you.
We'll see you later. Right, now joining me now, he's made his way all the way over from the commentary box, which is all of about 20 metres away.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack Nichols. Well, that was it unexpected or expected? I can't quite decide because obviously we have seen the performance from DS Techeetah here previously, but just not really this season.
It's been quite remarkable. I've also managed to holler at Gary Paffett to get him over as well for a bit of a Mercedes EQ perspective because it was a phenomenal performance from DS Techeetah. And Gary, they have this ability to get out of Group 1 and get into Superpole, and without meaning to be like, Mercedes didn't have that today with Nick and also with Stoffel. What went wrong for you guys today?
Yeah, it's a tricky circuit here. We saw it last year in Berlin. Out of the 6 races, we really nailed it at the last group of races, but struggled for some of the others. So it's really hard to track, I think, the circuit conditions. I think we saw this morning at times in FP2 we were quite far back, and then suddenly at the end we ended up pretty quick actually, and both cars were feeling pretty confident. But then tracking the track changes in the track conditions through qualifying was challenging, and obviously that kind of caught us out. I mean, Nick got obviously traffic in Q1, which was a bit strange, the traffic really, because Dennis went very early for an out push, and that caught the pack, which was unusual. So that was a bit unfortunate for Nick. And then in Stoffel, I think, the track conditions just changed and it caught us out a bit.
And how much focus now goes on to qualifying for tomorrow? Because, I mean, that's going to be key, right? Because scoring points today is going to be tough.
It's not impossible here. I think, we've seen last year, I think we're pretty strong with our race strategy in the team. Drivers are good at saving energy. We've got good efficiency in the car. So, we're going to try and work our way forwards. The aim today is still to score points for both cars. That's what we want to try and do. And then we'll think about qualifying tonight. But for now, it's going to be full focus, trying to score some points, recover something.
Focus on the race ahead, and time for maybe a quick bit of early lunch. Gary Pafford, thanks very much. It really is. 24 drivers though here are all so determined, aren't they,
absolutely,
to just get as many points in the bag as possible. Gary's saying it's going to be easy. Well, not easy, but possible to get points. I'm not so sure.
It's going to be hectic.
It's going to be very difficult, isn't it? Right, back to you, Vernon.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Jack. Dario, if you're one of the drivers who have got a chance to win the championship, I mean, there's 18 in contention, but let's talk about the top 5. What have you got to do? Because only Antonio Felix da Costa put in an absolute shift in qualifying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're at the front, you've got to stay at the front. You've got to be aggressive up there, but you can't overdo it, Vern. You can't get so aggressive you overuse your energy, or you overuse your tyres, because if you get to 2/3 of the way through the race and you've overused either of those, you're in so much trouble. You've got no chance of capitalising on that great track position.
So with the surface, with the weather, you've got to be patient this afternoon.
You must be patient. Yeah, absolutely. It's like golf. You play a lot of golf. You when you want to smash it onto the green and you overdo it, you can't do that. You've got to just do your normal soft swing. That's what these guys have all got to do.
And from a driver's perspective, you're always talking about that tempo, getting into that rhythm. So they've got to do that as soon as possible to keep everyone behind them.
Yeah, they've got to get into the rhythm. But if you're Nick de Vries at the back,
got to fight. Surely, it's an interesting equation. Interesting to see what happens. Let's bring in Alan McNish. Where's Alan? Here he is. Come on, Alan, quickly. We've not got much time. Alan, look at it. Oh, Alan's walking for the first time in a series of races. Come on in, Alan. There you go.
Yeah. Alan, and he's got new running shoes on too.
Nice to see an Audi in Super Pole in your final race weekend for Audi Sports. How did it go for you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, generally pretty good. Lucas was very confident after free practice. He was up there in second in FP2 and didn't really change very much. Obviously, the conditions changed a little bit. However, starting in Group 3, he was able to stick it into Super Pole, second one this year. And he was also then into Super Pole itself. I actually thought he delivered a really clean and tidy lap. I didn't expect it going out there to be able to do that.
He was really pleased with it over at the podium. Really pleased.
To be honest with you, we were super pleased back here as well.
Yeah.
And it was only ultimately the two Techitas that jumped ahead right at the end.
Alan, the race this afternoon, what's your biggest concern?
Two Techitas in front of us, Dario, to be honest with you. Because they've got pace.
Yeah.
Also in the championship fight, they're strong. They've got two cars in the mix. And so they can play the strategy cards there a little bit. I think in terms of temperature, it will be hard on the tyre because it's such an abrasive surface, and so you'll have to think about that. But it's not necessarily as warm as it's been in the last few days. The air temperature is significantly cooler. So I think it's more a case of the tyre management. But for us, it's those two cars ahead.
Have you got the pace?
I think we've definitely got the pace. No questions. We've got the pace to be able to do it. We've just got to actually do it.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Alan. Really appreciate it, as always. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen later on this afternoon. Make sure you check local details, what time the race commences, but we'll see you then a little bit later on.
Radio check.
Loud and clear.
Going in 30 seconds.
Intercom check. 1, 2, 3.
Copy. Loud and clear.
3, 2, 1.
And we go green in Berlin. Whoa! Look at that! This is brilliant. And look how close they are. Push. Oh, they're still side by side.
Good job.
On the streets of Berlin at Tempelhof Airport.
Bring it home.